Hi, I'm Nikki Fargas, your host, and I am here today with the legendary Lisa Leslie. 4 gold medals, 2 world championships, and a plethora of other awards as well. But Lisa, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be in the ACES studio. This is so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make sure that we tell what's current, what's going on, but to have you here today, it worked out perfectly with your schedule. But we just wanted to talk. You know, this is really about finding out what you've been up to, talking about what's going on with the league. Obviously, it's the Olympic year and all the attention that is now being focused on women's basketball. But so far, what have you seen within the WNBA with some of these rookies?
I've been so proud, Nikki, to be really honest. We know that, Caitlin Clark is here in the WNBA, and that's been a big change. And I love the fact that her impact is something that we can really tangibly see. We're talking about teams changing arenas, getting into larger spaces for their fans, which I think is outstanding. We're talking about people wearing these young women's jerseys. Asia Wilson finally getting her deserved shoe that we've heard about. I just love the fact that women's basketball is having the opportunity to get so many eyeballs on the game. It's not that the game and the product wasn't there. We know from, even before I played, when you go way back, if you look at Ann Myers and all of the women that came before us, Cheryl Miller, they didn't have these same opportunities, but their level and their play, if you move those players into this time, they would still been outstanding women and just some of the best players in the world. So I'm excited to see that fans, new fans, men and women, girls, dads, young girls and boys are having the chance to really celebrate the WNBA.
Well, I mean, we're standing on your shoulders, too. I know you mentioned Ann Myers and those guys, but, I go back to when you played and what you guys did to develop this league, to make it what it is today. Just share some of your insight and some of your experience when you had to put that uniform on and go out there and perform at a high level. And obviously being the first female to dunk in the WNBA game. But no, I think this is important for the Caitlin Clarks and the Angel Reese and the Cameron Brinks also to hear your story and how you got to be who you are today.
Well, I think, Nikki, I always look at the game as we all have our moment in time, right? And my time was different from the women that came before me, but I understood the history of the women who came before me. So I think it's really important, Pat had Summit, the women that came before us that were making way for us, Marianne Stanley, so many people's names just come to my head, that these women fought hard for us to get what we got. So for the WNBA to be established, I understood that it was more than just being about me and numbers. It was about the relationships, about building community. It was about kissing babies and signing every autograph. And, back then we used to have to sit and sign anybody who got in line. We were not on the time. We didn't get to go shower. We would sit and literally sign anybody who wanted an autograph, sign every autograph. And I really understood that in order for us to grow our league, in order for the WNBA to really have lasting power, we had to give of ourselves and not ask for a whole lot in return. And it's kind of one of those things when you kind of look at the history of women, there's times where, we get a chance to vote, or you get a chance to have a voice or a seat at the table. Every time and space has this moment where we couldn't say all of the things that we thought. We can't be as bold as an Angel Reese can be now, which I love. But it wasn't that time. That time was for us to build it. It was for us to do a whole lot of things for free that we should have been paid for that we weren't. It was about getting to the table with all of these sponsors and the possibilities of growing our league. We needed sponsorships. Sponsorship dollars wasn't about for the player, it was about for the league, for us to be able to exist. We needed television deals. So I think when you look at us as a product, I always knew that our games were amazing. But I understood we had a responsibility for every new fan who came in that game, especially the men. We had to show out. I had to show up. I didn't have time to have days off. We had a thing where it's no missed layups. I mean, there's a lot of layups that get missed sometimes, but we were very high in our efficiency because we understood we were trying to win over fans. So I feel like our level of responsibility was trying to get people to not walk out that door and to invite someone else to come in. Now that these young women have the attention that they have, thanks to social media, thanks again to, I always say, shout out to the girl dads. It's a little bit different now. What they have is a captivated audience. Now, how are you going to treat this audience? That's really important. How do you give back? How do you show up on social media? Recognizing that you're a role model, and what are your responsibilities now, because they've changed so much from when I started.
Well, one of the things that we're really proud of here with the ACES organization, and Mark Davis was very passionate about us creating an alumni.
Can we just say a shout out to Mark Davis?
Yes,
like seriously,
yes.
Shout out to you, because we appreciate allies, and that's what we've needed. And we appreciate a person of his stature looking at women's basketball and going, I'm not just going to have a team, but I'm going to invest in a team. Mm-hmm. So we're so thankful, because he's leading the way for so many other organizations to, again, with this charter flight, come on. Like, that's only been a dream of mine since forever. So I'm so happy to see that. But go ahead, finish giving Mark Davis his flowers, if you will.
Yes, I mean, Mark has been just instrumental in leading the attack, if you will. But, you know, we wanted to be intentional, too, of recognizing those who have paved the way. And so one of the things many things, but one of the things that was really important to him was for us to start our alumni initiative. And so we track down, and thank you, John Jiggy Maxwell, but we tried to track down every player that wore a Utah, San Antonio, and or Las Vegas Aces jersey. Wow. So if you played for either franchise, then you were part of the Aces family. And so we would fly that alum plus a guest, all expense paid trip to come to Vegas, so we can connect the past with what's going on right now in the present to build a better future. But how important is it to really recognize and give you guys your flowers? Because I think the history of the game still needs to be told, and this is one way that we're able to do so.
Well, again, first, Nikki, let me give you your flowers also, because having this position and recognizing the importance of it is huge. You've reached out to me on many occasions way before and asking if I could be a part of the organization, do anything, and I appreciate that. The fortunate part is that you guys are leading the way, and hopefully you're being an example for other franchises. As you know, I come from one of the original franchises, from the Los Angeles Sparks, and we don't have that story to tell. Although we have banners hanging, I love the purple and gold. You know, I'm a Laker girl. You know, I grew up watching the Lakers. Jeannie Buss is so amazing to me, and the Buss family has always had a special place in my heart. So I always appreciate them. The unfortunate part is that the Sparks parted ways with the Buss family, and so that level of treatment is just so different. I'm used to that type of family setting for us. I mean, Dr. Buss took the Sparks. We would go to Hawaii when the Lakers were in preseason. We traveled not with the team, but he'd fly us all there, like you're saying, plus one guest, and we'd have those opportunities to really connect, and it felt very much like a family. And I hope that the Los Angeles Sparks can get back to that, because I think that's what it's about. It's about that community, and it's about building that connection. And why wouldn't you want to do it with some of your first players? So again, I commend you guys on even thinking back to other franchises that weren't even connected to the Aces. That's huge, because like for a Jennifer Azzi, who played for Utah Stars and now has the opportunity to work here. I mean, isn't that what it's about? If you talk about investing in women, it's not just about talking about it. It's about, you know, supporting them and what they want to do. And we know we all have that common goal. We all played, Nikki. We all wanted to see us have just our space in our country. As you know, I played overseas. I played in Russia and Italy. The women are the stars in those countries. They have us on the news every day, just like the men. We're in the paper. So that disparity, I guess you'd say, between men and women in other sports in other countries, they don't have it that way. As we know, we go over there because of the pay as well. Right. So I'm always hopeful. I'm always thinking that the positive will happen for our women in sports. Again, I'm always grateful for all of these young women, because we had our time, and anything that I can do to support the league, the Aces, the Sparks, the WNBA, you know, always sign me up.
Well, you have been a huge supporter, and we appreciate you. And you mentioned Jennifer Azzi, and one of the things that we wanted to also convey is that we're more than just a uniform. Yeah. And so through that alumni initiative, we were able to connect with Becky Hammond, who ended up saying yes and leaving the NBA to come be our head coach, who played for the franchise. You mentioned Jennifer Azzi, Chief Business Development Officer, who also played for the franchise. And then I also hired Natalie Williams as our general manager.
Big man in the post.
I know, I know. Well, you know what? 3 Olympians, right?
Yes,
or 2 Olympians. But I think it's important for us to also have those voices in those meetings. When you're talking about going from the court to the boardroom, that's what we were trying to do here, and we've been successful in allowing the alums, because, you know, talk about your schedule. When you think about playing at this elite level, I mean, how many days that you have to train, how many days that you're practicing and traveling, it's really hard to build your resume.
Yes, yes. And to have the opportunity to do it within this organization, again, you guys are really leading the way. Hats off to you, because I just believe it's the right way. I'm a firm believer of there's enough room for all of us at the top. I believe that, you know, what's for me is for me, and what's for you, there's no way I can block your blessing. So I'm never feeling intimidated or feeling some kind of way about other young women having the opportunity to seize what we've had and get more. You know, I love Asia Wilson. I love the fact that she's so unapologetic about who she is, how she plays, but she's a baller, you know what I mean? Like, she's such a baller in there, you know, banging, talking noise, but she also laughs. She also has great personality, and I think she's an excellent ambassador for our sport. But there's a lot of young ladies. I love Angel Reese. I know she's new to the league, and that's not to leave out veterans that we have, but when it comes to personalities and people just really understanding the connection through social media and growing our game, we have to be very welcoming to these young girls and recognizing young women and recognizing that it's changing. Times is changing, and how we connect with our fans is changing, and we have to embrace that and embrace them.
Well, you talked about Angel Reese, you know, Caitlin Clark, leaving from college, and they're going now to the pros. They're already coming with a pretty significant amount of money in their bank accounts.
Yes.
But just talk about, you know, the importance of making sure that you're investing properly, that you have the right team around you, so that, you know, these women can continue to generate revenue, but also, you know, don't feel like you had to play like 16, 17, 18 years either.
Well, I think it's a fine balance between what we went through, and that is, you know, obviously making no money in college, and then coming out and playing in the WNBA. And our salaries are very close to what Caitlin just saw. You know, I mean, it's not that big of a difference from where we started. And we're talking about we're 26 or 7 years the WNBA. So that part, yeah, we gotta really work on that pay gap. But I think where I was really fortunate is just having family that was, you know, I have 2 CPAs that are my family members that really helped me with my investment and just getting out there and learning about property and real estate. That was the biggest thing. And then marrying my husband, who I've been with for 20 years, who was also, shout out to my husband, babe, Michael, who was also into real estate. So for us, we have over 30 years of real estate. And when it comes to real estate knowledge, investing in real estate, and I think that was the biggest decision that we made, that I made personally as an athlete, to help grow my money. Now you're talking about players who have made, or possibly already have made, millions. That they're the first generation for most of these young women that are going to make over $1 million, that have already made it. What do they do, and how do you keep it? You never know. Just thinking the other day, Caitlin went down for a second. You never know when an injury can happen to anyone and in your career. So education obviously being important, but real estate is one of those things that it's so important to invest your money now so that it can make you money and have residual income. And so what we do at the Lockwood Real Estate Group is really help young people. We helped a lot of athletes and entertainers to invest their money so that they can continue to grow it. They can see it, whether it's that first property that you buy from mom, making sure that you get it in the right state, because that's important, right? The right state, meaning where you are, and if it's has homestead in Florida where we live, which is really important, or if it's a state like Las Vegas, here being in Nevada. Some states have no taxes, which is really important. And then when it comes to the longevity of maybe not your first property, but maybe your second property or your third property, and how you invested, and maybe if it should be in a trust or not. Like, there's so much knowledge and importance for these young people that they may not come in contact with. And because they're the first millionaires in their families may not have that information. The last thing I'll say about that is just the checks and balances. A lot of times we think, okay, I've signed with my agent, but then you give your agent carte blanche to be in charge of everything, and there's no checks and balances. And we understand how athletes have lost money, or many athletes, especially a lot of NBA players, right? How did they steal millions of dollars? People never understand, how does that happen? And that's because there's no checks and balances. Like, people who are investing your money or doing real estate, they have to be separate from who your agent is. This is my opinion, of course, but separate those people out so that you have checks and balances, is where your money's going, how it's being invested, making sure someone's checking behind the folks that are supposed to be taking care of your money, and how you give power of attorney. It's important to have investment and investors. So it's a whole thing that we could go into, but I think the importance is that education in how they invest their money. And so if there's any players out there that needs any help, I'm also available for that.
Call Lisa, let's go.
Let's go.
No, but I think it's important for them to hear this, and you obviously are continuing to be a huge presence, not only in the WNBA, but also with the Big Three. Yeah. So that's been exciting to watch. But how did you get started with the Big Three League?
That's so funny. You know what? The Big Three came to Miami, and my husband was the one who was watching the Big Three. And I'm like, I don't know. That's all right. Then I started watching, and I started coaching. I'm like, oh my God. Because actually, Dawn Staley, Cheryl Swoops, and I played 3-on-3 a lot. And we also played 3-on-3 when we shot that commercial in the park in New York, literally for a full day against all the men who lined up. We just played 3-on-3. I'm serious, from 6:30 in the morning, I think was our call time, and we got out of there right before it got too dark for them to film. So we played 3-on-3 so much. Whereas, I understand the cohesion of 3-on-3 and the plays, and I just kept thinking, when we went to the game in Miami, I'm like, these guys, they're not moving in time. Like, the back screen should happen, or they have to move without the ball. So I was just sitting next to Ice Cube, basically coaching, and he was like, oh yeah, no, you got to be a part of this. We got to have you in some capacity. You want to do broadcast? I'm like, oh, I could coach. I could coach. And so my first year, we won the championship, and we lost the championship last year in London. I don't want to get sad on you guys. So we're looking to come back and just get to the finals. It's always about winning championships. If you're not winning championships, what are you doing?
What are you doing, right?
You guys understand that very well here.
Yeah.
So I don't like to waste time. I don't want to waste my season. I love to win, but I'm a student of the game always, watching WNBA, watching NBA, watching my son play. I just love the game of basketball. I think it's such a game that brings people together. I think it's a game that is it looks easier on the sideline than it is out there. But I love the chess match out there of just trying to make sure you have all your pieces in the right place. No pun intended with the aces over here. You got to play your cards right.
You mentioned championships, and we're coming off of back-to-back, and you've won back-to-back championships. But, what is going to be, the challenges that you see trying to three-peat?
Well, I lost the three-peat in the championship, so we actually made it all the way back. So I would say that third season is that you're a well-oiled machine, right? I think watching the Aces, as I watch you guys pretty closely, your team knows who they are. They know their identity, excellent defense. They play together. They don't care who scores. They have excellent chemistry. They know when to get the ball to Asia. Asia knows when it's Asia time. So I feel like you guys remind me a lot of our team when we were winning, because you have all the pieces and everyone understands their roles. The three-peat is it is what it is. Sometimes you get in there and you feel like towards the end, you have the officials, you have each other, and you're fighting for every single possession. When we got down to that last championship run, we played great at home. We got on the road, and it was it was like a fight out there. It felt like we were overseas, and so you just have to continue to rise to the occasion, fight as hard as you can, play smart, and lose the emotion. Emotion is the key to losing, because the more emotional you become, then you start to make bad decisions.
It becomes like a distraction.
It's
almost.
a huge distraction. So the teams that fall apart, the teams that's complaining to officials, I feel like all those little pieces right there at the end, because you feel like you're the veteran team and the refs know, like, listen, you already know who I am, but the refs can't make it easy for you, and you can't start mouthing off at them. And I feel like right at the end, our three-peat, we got a little too emotional, whether it felt unfair, things didn't quite go our way. Emotions can really get the best of you, and that would be my biggest advice for a three-peat. You got to lose the emotion. It's problems and solutions, and that is it, and stay together as tight as you've ever been.
Okay, that's going to be the pregame speech. So we're going to get that to Becky. So.
That's it.
Yes, but
that's it.
No, I think it's important for us to also talk a little bit. It's an Olympic year.
Yes.
And, 4 gold medals by yourself. But, just talk about what that has meant for you, that experience, playing for your country.
I always say it's one thing to play for my city, but it's a whole nother thing to play for our country. And when you have the opportunity to wear the red, white, and blue, shout out to all the veterans out there. My husband served and went to the Air Force Academy, but served and flew in Desert Storm and Desert Shield. So I feel like when you talk about protecting our country, those are the true heroes. But we have the opportunity to put that red, white, and blue on. And when we do, it's bigger than us again. And I really use the exact same ideology for me wearing the red, white, and blue. And don't be emotional. You have to remove it. I'm not just representing myself. So I can't, get mad and, elbow somebody because she elbowed me or be disrespectful to the refs, even though they really don't play games. You already know internationally, they are like one warning and you out of here. So you're representing something bigger than yourself. And again, it doesn't matter. Nobody remembers me being the leading scorers, rebounding, block shots. Nobody knows that. Nobody remembers those things. But what do we remember? Gold. So that's the thing, being as selfless as you can be, passing up a good shot for a great shot. All the keys to winning is going to be the same as it is for the Aces, but for the USA. The beauty of it when you play on Team USA is that my job is less. My job at that time was rebound, hit the boards, offense and defense, block shots on my defense and rotate and score. Like that's my job. When you're on the team here, on a WNBA team, my job is a lot more. I'm managing people in the locker room. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to get the message across that the coach wants to the players. I'm trying to make sure if I saw, Nikki, you didn't shoot well yesterday. I'm like, Nick, let's meet early. I'm really managing my teammates in a different way than I would have to do. USA is like, that's the best of the best. So go out there, take no team or country for granted, and you give it your all. Because what do they say? You don't win silver, you lose gold.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? You have given us so many golden nuggets today. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us, Lisa. You are always welcome here as an ace. I did ask you earlier today if you wanted to come out of retirement, had any eligibility left.
I know.
We would
love. I don't know if I can make it up and down the floor, but if y'all want to play half court, I got you. What?
No, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. And go to the Aces. Congratulations, you guys, for all the success you have.